Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 21st Century Scholars Pre-College Academy. Wanted to start off by saying the Pre-College Academy is a partnership between Indiana University's Bloomington's 21st Century Scholars Program and the Community and School Partnerships Program, as well as the Indiana Commission for Higher Education. I'm Julia Jennings, the Director of Community and School Partnerships, and on behalf of all of our partners, I'd like to say that we're so glad that you could join us today. Each week, we are introducing you to topics and experts to help guide you on your college readiness journey. Last Saturday, our conversation focused on exploring career opportunities. We were joined by Michael Moore, who's the Assistant Director for the IU Career Development Center. And Michael helped us learn how we can start to answer the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? For the second portion of our time together, we spoke with Marcia Debnam, a career coach for the IU Walter Center for Career Achievement, about how parents and guardians can be career partners with their students. And we also spoke with current and recent IU 21st Century Scholars from the Bloomington campus to hear about their experiences as IU students. And we have a few joining us again today to continue that conversation. If you were unable to join us for any of our previous sessions or would like to watch the recording of those sessions, we'll be distributing that information to those who selected that option in the RSVP. You could also call us at 812-856-5935 or email us at cpartner@indiana.edu for more information. And as always, note that our session content does not require you to have attended a previous session to be able to participate. However, we do encourage you to participate in as many sessions as possible to benefit from all the wonderful presenters and resources we have to share. For today, we are talking about the IU admissions process and what IU has to offer students in more detail. So we'll be first hear from Chanel Melwood, a senior admissions counselor for the IU Bloomington Office of Admissions. Chanel will be joined by student ambassadors from the Admissions A team, and we'll spend some time at the end of today's session asking questions of A-Team and 21st Century Scholars ambassadors about their IU experiences. So please feel free to type your questions into the chat at any point during the presentation, and we'll be sure to address those during the Q&A. So with that, I'll turn the mic over to Chanel.
Hi, so yes, my name is Chanel Mellon. I'm a senior admissions counselor at IU. And so just to kind of explain, my job is to help students through the college admissions process. So I work with them through the application and admissions process and really guide them through that. And so you will have an admissions counselor, whatever college you choose to apply to and at IU, and that's what we're here for. I did go to IU myself, but it has been a few years, so that's why we have some of our student ambassadors here with us today. And so would you guys like to introduce yourself? So Kayla and Ruby, and then if Tyra Rose is here as well, if you could introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, so my name is Kayla, and I am a recent graduate this past year from Longmeadow, Massachusetts, and I studied trumpet performance and Spanish with a minor in tourism, hospitality, and event management.
Hi guys, my name is Ruby. I'm now going to be senior at Indiana University, and I'm studying secondary social studies education with a minor in counseling.
Okay, so Tyra Rose might have not made it, or she might pop in a little bit later today, but we'll go ahead and get started on our PowerPoint. And so we're going to talk a little bit about IU and about college in general. And so it's just one thing to really think about is why college is going to be a choice for you, or why you're going to choose to continue your education. And it really does just open up so many more experiences and opportunities for you. It helps you gain some important life skills, learn about yourself, learn about your community, and it just allows for you to meet new people. And like I said, I could talk about this for a while and go on and on and on about it. But it's just, as far as like career everything, if you like pursuing any sort of passions or interests that you're wanting to go into, college just really opens up those doors for you. And we're going to definitely talk about why IU, and our student ambassadors, I'll have you guys explain at the end why you guys chose IU. And there's so many options for you and so many different interests that you can go into, whether that be areas, and it just opens up those doors for you and allows you to pursue those passions. So at IU, we have students from all over the world, all over the country, 140 different countries from all 50 states and all 92 counties in Indiana. About 33,000 undergraduate students and 10,000 graduate students, which allows for a very diverse campus and community where you meet people from all walks of life and all over the world, and learn about those different differences and those different cultures and economic differences as well. And we have over 200 majors to choose from, and they fall within our 12 schools. And so you can mix and match majors that really matches or really goes along with your interests, your passions. And so you can go into an area within computer science and fashion design and start working to create the technology, like wearable technology, like our smart watches and everything. And so it's just a way to combine majors and minors that really makes sense to your career goals and your passions. And you have even if you're not sure, I know they talked about like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And even if you're not sure about what you want to study, you have so many different options at IU. Like myself, I wasn't really sure. And so I had that opportunity to kind of dive into some different areas and really find what interests me. And so Kayla and Ruby, would you guys maybe kind of step in and talk a little bit about how you chose your path or the path that you went to choose your major? Let's start with Ruby and then we'll go to Kayla.
Yeah, for me, I had been admitted to the Kelly School of Business, and I really was gung-ho about it. It was the one thing I wanted to do, and that was what I did in high school, and I thought it was going to be a perfect fit for me. But then I came to IU and I realized that there can be a lot of different fits for me. And once I started taking my classes and talking to professors and other students and just being mentored at IU made me realize that I wanted to do something else with my future. And I realized that the one thing I wanted to do was to inspire others. And I knew that the most inspirational people in my life were my educators. So I then started to talk to my advisor, and they allowed me to take classes in the School of Ed and in my interest area, which is social studies. And I realized that I was succeeding more in those classes, not because they were easier, but because they were actually things that interested me and what I wanted to do. So that's how I ended up picking my major, is just being able to explore. And I don't think I would have had that opportunity without IU's ability to just mix and match the classes that you have.
So I came in as a direct admit to the Jacobs School of Music. I've done music all my life. My older sister is a music teacher, so it was just really a natural path for me to take. No one was really surprised by that. So I came into IU as a trumpet performance major. And last minute, as I came in freshman year, I decided to add a Spanish minor. I really loved Spanish in high school, and it's always a good idea just to know another language, be able to communicate with more people. And then after about a year of school, I had one more class. I was finishing up my Spanish minor, and I found myself asking my professors, oh, how can I get more involved with the Spanish-speaking community, take more classes without doing any other degree, things like that. And I realized if I really wanted to be involved so much with the Spanish department, maybe I should do a double major. So I went to my advisor from the music school, and I met with an advisor from the Spanish department, and they said, yep, no problem. You can very easily do that second major within your 4 years without taking any more time. So I added that, and I've absolutely loved it. I did a study abroad after that. And then I am definitely a planner. I like to plan all my classes ahead of time, and especially being a double major, I wanted just to make sure I had all my requirements where they needed to be. And I realized about halfway through sophomore year that I could graduate a semester early, even with both of my degrees. So I thought about it and I said, okay, my options are going to be graduate early, spread my classes out and do it full time, graduating in 4 years, graduating with my friends, or I could add a minor or a certificate of some sort to fill out that time and just take advantage of what we had what we have at IU. So I talked to my parents and they're like, yep, definitely take advantage of that. Think about if you'd like to add anything else, what you want to do. And I realized that what I really liked about Spanish and music and all that was talking with people and helping with people. So I found the tourism, hospitality, and event management program through the School of Public Health and decided that was a really good route to go. So I added that minor. And because of that minor, I'm heading into the field of hospitality at this point. So I have an odd combination of majors, minors, degrees. I was able to graduate with all of them in 4 years, but definitely shows that combine all your interests and you'll find exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, so those are awesome examples as far as like coming to IU, going to college, and really discovering those interests and those passions and being able to pursue those. So thank you both for sharing that. All right, and so you're also going to have the academic support that you're going to need at IU. Our student to faculty ratio is 16:1 and our average class size is 30. And you're going to be able to get to know your faculty and professors and go to those office hours and meet with them if you do have any questions as far as like if you want to go over anything that was discussed in the class. I know I took advantage of that a lot myself. And you're going to also have an academic advisor, which Kayla and Ruby both talked about, and they're really going to be a great support system for you as well to help you make sure that you're taking the correct courses within your area of study. And if your major changes, if you choose to change your major, then your advisor would change as well to correlate with that area of study. So they're going to be experts within that area and be able to properly advise you. And we know the importance of going beyond the classroom and getting those experiences outside of the classroom or even off campus. And so you're going to not just be in a classroom, you're going to get those experiences like this image here. I had a roommate who probably did something very similar. She was a environmental science major, and so she went to Lake Griffey, which is right near campus, where they did testings on the water and everything. And then I took tourism management as well, Kayla, and so we went down to French Lick and did a tour of West Baden and learned a little bit about that hotel and the history of it. And it's a beautiful hotel if you haven't been there. And then there's internship opportunities as early as your freshman year, research opportunities as early as your freshman year, where you can really dive into that area and really get some amazing experiences that build your resume and allow for you to gain some important knowledge within that area, or really just kind of learn if it's for you as well as far as that career choice. And a lot of study abroad opportunities, though with our situation with COVID-19, that is kind of limited with travel, but normally our overseas studies program is a huge support for students to be able to experience those opportunities to experience different cultures in different countries. And so that is definitely an opportunity for our students. And as a large campus, there are a lot of ways for you to find your community on campus. So you can become involved with our over 750 student organizations and clubs. And these are clubs that a lot of them are professional development, where you can find ways for networking and meet people within who have similar interests in your area of study. But there's also just some of those fun ones where you just find those students who have similar interests as you. There's people who like watching The Office, that show The Office. They'll get together and they'll watch The Office. And there's the squirrels at IU, which I find is adorable. You can follow them on Instagram, and they take photos of the squirrels on IU's campus, and they have names for all of them. But yeah, so Kayla and Ruby, can you guys talk a little bit about some of the involvement and support that you guys have received on campus? So this time we'll start with Kayla and then go to Ruby.
Yeah, so in terms of involvement on campus, so I've been a part of a couple of organizations. So I've been part of a club called the Autism Mentoring Program through the Hutton Honors College, where we've worked with local students who have autism, and we help them with tutoring sessions, and we'll help them with grocery shopping and different social activities, game nights, things like that. And I've also been involved with a club called Grupo Enye, which is a Spanish club for speakers of all levels, whether you're major, minor, native speaker, just starting out, anything like that. So we've watched movies in Spanish, gone to restaurants, just having conversations in Spanish. And we have a lot of those clubs for most of the languages that we offer at the school. So if you're interested in both getting involved but also helping yourself academically, that's a really great way to do that. You are having more practice with that language and also meeting a lot of other people, which is great. And then kind of outside of campus, I briefly mentioned I did do a study abroad. So I studied abroad in Barcelona, Spain in the summer of 2018. And once that is allowed again in the next couple of years, I definitely suggest taking that opportunity to do so. I met a lot of great people I'm still in contact with. We only had class 4 days a week, so we got to travel around Europe, around Spain on the weekends. I took 2 classes that counted towards my major. You can do it towards a major, minor, general education, anything like that. It was just a really great experience. I also got to take trumpet lessons. That was through my own connections with a local trumpet professor, the first trumpet in the Barcelona orchestra. My host mom ended up being a piano instructor with a piano on the first floor of her apartment building with a studio, so I was able to practice there. So if you have any concerns about like combining majors, minors, things like that and study abroad, it's definitely possible. I definitely did that. And then more locally outside of campus, I've been a part of a program called La Escuelita para Todos. And with that program, it's through volunteers through IU Connected with the Community, where we go to the local public library and we work with local Spanish-speaking kids in the community. And we help them with their Spanish literacy skills. A lot of them grow up speaking Spanish and English, but they only have a formal education in English. So we help them with their Spanish literacy skills. We also help teach their parents English so they can better communicate with their kids. So that's been a really great experience. You can do it, you have the option of doing it for credit on campus through a service learning class. I chose to just do it as volunteer work. So it was a really great way for me to both get involved with the community and IU and also help myself with my Spanish skills in my major.
Well, first off, I'm involved with student ambassadors. This used to be an organization, and we used to volunteer just to give tours and things like that. And it's now turned into a paid position. So it really turned out good in the end. But I really love interacting with just my team members and as well as new incoming students. It's given me the ability to just gain those speaking skills that I had in high school and improve upon them, and just a lot of great internship opportunities. Last summer, I was an intern at the Office of Admissions, and that was a really great time, as well as I've interned at the football office and worked with their high school recruits. I've also had the opportunity of being a president of a residence hall, so I did that all last year. That was through the organization RHA, Residential Hall Associations, and just being able to work in that was amazing because it was another form of student government where I was advocating for students and what they needed and doing programming and doing events all year round. So that was great. As well as in the last year, I had a position working with the organization called Latinos Unidos at Indiana University, for short LUIU, and it's the oldest Latino organization on our campus, and it was nice just to be an advocate for Latino students, as well as me working at the Latino Cultural Center is something I'm involved with, and being able to do that. And through my job, I'm also the chair of the Latino Council, where all of the Latino organizations get together once a month and just talk about issues that are surrounding our community and how we can help each other, as well as events that we can collaborate on.
Chanel, you're muted there.
Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, thank you guys for sharing all of that, those experiences and opportunities that you both have had. But yeah, and there's also cultural experience as well. We have 6 cultural centers on campus, and this allows you to just another way for you to find your community on campus. It allows you to learn more about like your own culture, or if you want to learn about other cultures as well, that is available to you. And like I said, we have a very diverse campus with students from all over the world, all over the country. And we celebrate that. We have Culture Fest, which is during Welcome Week. That's the few days right before classes start in the fall. And that is where the different culture centers and even different businesses on campus, where they all come together to really celebrate the cultures of Bloomington with food and music, and it's just a really great experience for our students as well. All right, so we talked a little bit about IU, and so let's dive a little bit more about the process as far as getting to IU. And so this is the application process. And so I won't go too in depth with like all the details, because who knows in a few years what this might look like as far as the different applications, but there is an online application that you would fill out. We do have like our Apply IU application through IU, and then there's the common application, the coalition application. And we'll accept any of those options. We just ask that you fill out one of them, not all three. And then with your application, we would need your high school transcript. And if you choose to include your ACT and SAT test scores, we would need those. We are becoming test optional, so it is going to be up to you as far as if you want to include those test scores. And there is an essay required. It's 200 to 400 words. And this is where you can tell us a little bit about yourself, what your plans are at IU. It's also an opportunity where it's really your voice within the application. And so if there's something that you feel that we need to know about you, whether it be like you had a semester where your grades may have dropped, tell us about what was going on at that time and how you overcame those difficulties. And so, the application, test scores, essay, and then there is an application fee, or if you have one, a fee waiver. And so we do have two deadlines. The November 1st is our early action non-binding deadline. And this is the deadline where you have the most scholarship opportunities when applying. And so IU has a number of IU academic scholarships as well as selective scholarships that you may be invited to. And by applying by the November 1st deadline, that allows you to be considered for those scholarships. And then we also have our regular decision deadline, which is February 1st. And so any applications that are submitted after February 1st are considered on a case-by-case space available basis. And so what I really kind of want to talk about is more of what we look for on your application to really help better prepare you for you're about to go. It'll be soon before you're in high school. And this is where it's all going to start as far as the college application process, because we look at all 4 years. Starting your freshman year, we're looking at your transcript and seeing those grade trends all 4 years of high school. We also are looking that you are taking college preparatory courses that are required, and we require at least 34 credits. And that falls within English, math, social science, and foreign language. So we do require 2 years of foreign language. And one thing to keep in mind is that we require 7 semesters of math, and one of those semesters needs to be pre-calculus or trigonometry or calculus. And it just allows you to really be best prepared for the math courses that would be required at IU. And so again, just kind of being aware of that whenever you're going into high school and using this time in middle school to really prepare yourself for high school, because that's kind of the idea behind it. And so that when you are starting your high school career, you're really taking advantage of those classes and making sure that you're getting the grades that you need to make your application stand out for the college applications. And then, like I said, the SAT and ACT is going to be optional for students. And so that doesn't mean I still strongly advise taking the SAT and ACT. It allows for, there's some like outside scholarships that may require SAT, ACT, so you just don't want those doors. You still want those options available to you. It's ideally having that information for us with the admissions process is the best picture for us as far as your preparation and whether you're going to be successful. But we do understand that for some students, those test scores really don't match with like their abilities. And so that's where it's going to be up to you whenever you do take the ACT or SAT, whether or not you want that to be included. We do have a lot of information online as well. And you can talk to your admissions counselor about that as well if you're wondering whether or not you should include that. And like I said, we're going to look at your transcript and your grades and your overall GPA as well. So getting those good grades throughout high school is going to be important, and just making sure that you're doing well within those classes and taking some of those sometimes challenging classes to show us that you're really like taking advantage of the academics available to you to best prepare you for college. And then, yeah, like I said, and you can take like those AP courses or honors courses or dual credit courses as well in high school. That they're not required. I don't want you to feel like you have to take those, but it does kind of just show us that you are taking advantage of those to challenge yourself and taking advantage of those courses to best prepare yourself for college. But you do want to make sure that you're taking courses where you're going to be most successful as well. And the SAT and ACT, there's the practice exams that you can take, and it's just like any hobby or sport that you're interested in. You need to practice for that before you really take the exam. And so taking the PSAT, for example, and then you can actually link the PSAT to Khan Academy. And so they'll basically take the information from your PSAT and create these practice exams to really help best prepare you for taking the SAT. Or if you take the SAT multiple times, it'll still take that information to help prepare you for taking it again. It even creates a calendar for like a study guideline, how much time you should be spending and when you should be going through these practice exams before you're taking the SAT. And so it's a great tool, it's free. And so you can just link the score to Khan Academy to create that for yourself. And then definitely explore your interests. Like I said, it's totally okay if you're not sure what you want to do, but talk to people within different fields that might interest you. And then start thinking about what kind of college experience you want to have, and visiting those campuses and really learning about what's going to be available to you at those campuses and what opportunities they have for you and what's going to be allow you to be best prepared for that career or that area of study that you're interested in. And so as far as managing costs as a 21st Century Scholar, I'm sure they've talked about the 21st Century Scholars at IU, but definitely filing your FAFSA before the FAFSA deadline is a priority. And I'm sure you'll hear it all 4 years in high school as well, but definitely making sure you file that FAFSA. It also allows for there may be other opportunities as far as additional grant money or work study, or other scholarships, as well as some federal loans and everything. So you'll file your FAFSA within your senior year on October 1st. And it's just making sure that April 15th deadline, you complete it by then to allow for all those opportunities in the 21st Century Scholarship and everything too. And like I said, IU does have scholarships as well. And so just applying by the November 1st deadline is important to be considered for those scholarships. Oh, and then I should have mentioned, we do have some really great resources on campus as far as the Student Central, and they're a great support system to go over any financial aid questions that you have, or wondering like whether or not these loans are required, or if I really need to accept these loans. And so they're an awesome resource, just making sure what's going to be the best option for you and what other things you may want to consider. And then there are the pre-college programs such as this, and normally we have a lot of options throughout the summer as well. Unfortunately, with our current situation with COVID-19, we are limited. There are a few online options, but I do encourage you to keep looking at our website as hopefully things start to allow for more opportunities maybe next summer. It'd be great to take advantage of those opportunities to maybe dive into an area of study that interests you and learn a little bit what it's going to be like in college and kind of better prepare you for that as well. So definitely keep an eye on the website to look at those, keep an eye out for those options as well, maybe next year or later this year. Okay, so yes. And then again, be sure to ask any questions through the chat and I'd be happy to answer those as well. But I would like to kind of end it with Kayla and Ruby, you guys telling us a little bit why you chose IU and why you continue to study at IU. So let's start with Ruby and then we'll go to Kayla.
Yeah, for me, it was a combination of a lot of reasons why I chose IU. At first, I'm not gonna lie, I never thought of IU as an option. for me, I live on the west side of Indianapolis, so it's just a quick hour drive, but I never thought it was in my range of options just because I thought I wanted to go out and explore different things that weren't just IU. But then my high school counselor really encouraged me to go on a visit of IU, and it really changed my perspective of how it was and what I could do if I went to IU. So I always tell people one of the reasons why I picked IU, it's because of its beautiful campus. Like Bloomington's just one of the most beautiful towns that I've ever been, and I'm lucky to live there now, and spending my 4 years there. As well as I picked it because it really felt like home. It felt like somewhere where I could succeed and other people would want me to succeed, and they'd mentor me to become the best version of myself. And I really have done that. And I continue to choose IU because they have so many great opportunities that you wouldn't get at a smaller school. And I never thought I could get, like being able to work the field on football game days, and being able to I also, like Kayla, studied abroad, and it was really cheap, and I got to meet amazing people in where I went in Brazil, and the people that I went with that were from IU. It was just to get these continuous opportunities. And I know even in my last year at IU, I'm going to continue to get great opportunities that will lead to my success. Is something I couldn't have ever imagined that I was going to get until I came to IU. So that's why I picked IU and continue to choose IU.
Yeah, so when I started my college church, I knew I wanted to be a trumpet performance major, but I went in thinking I just wanted to do music. I thought I wanted a small conservatory style school where I was just going to do music. And I applied to IU because it's the Jacob School of Music is always ranked within the top 10 music schools. I knew some people that went here, and I said, yeah, definitely, it's a great school. I definitely want to apply. And when I started doing my first couple of auditions, because I didn't visit any of my schools beforehand, because I had to come my spring of my senior year of high school in order to audition for all of them. After I went to the first few schools, I found myself kind of asking, can I take Spanish classes too? Am I able to take some dance classes if I wanted to? I grew up a dancer. Can I do all the other things? And at some smaller schools, the answer wasn't always yes. Sometimes you had to go elsewhere. It wasn't really easy to find. And then when I came to IU, which I believe was the third school that I auditioned at, I realized, oh, I can do that. I can take Spanish classes. I can be a major. I could be a minor. I could take all of these other things, all these other opportunities. Or if I wanted to, I could just stay in the music school. If I wanted that conservatory experience, I didn't really have to go outside the music school. I could just do that. So I really liked the idea of that. And then I really fell in love with the campus. It's an absolutely beautiful campus. Even now I'm in Bloomington for the summer, and I love just walking around. The flowers are blooming. You'll see a lot of pictures all around campus. We also have some really awesome food options, which definitely helps for sure. I'm still eating my way around town, getting takeout now, supporting the restaurants. So I love that. And my mom said after I had auditioned at IU, my dad had come with me. I came back, and my mom said I had been happier talking about IU and the music school than I had been talking about any other school I was looking at. So about a week and a half later, I found out I was accepted, and I did not want to make a decision right away on where I was going. I wanted to wait, but I think I'd only heard from one other school so far, and my mom went ahead and got me an IU t-shirt and sweatshirt without telling me, and hid it in the closet. And about 2 months later, when I said, yep, I still want to go to IU, my mom said, you could have made your decision a lot easier and done this 2 months ago when you knew that you wanted to go there. So I'm really grateful for all the experiences I have. It's definitely sad that my time at IU is over. I'll be here for the next couple of months. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of opportunities, and that's the main reason that I picked IU.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that your parents or your mom had that sweatshirt and everything ready for you. So then one last question before we end this. What advice would you give yourself while in middle school to help prepare yourself in college? So let's start with Kayla, and we'll go to Ruby.
I'd say definitely don't limit yourself in terms of things that you like. Like in school, you might say, like, I like math, I hate history, I hate all the other subjects, so I'm going to focus on this one and kind of ignore all the others. I'm not going to go down that path. definitely keep your options open in terms of like academics and outside of school. My interests definitely changed a lot between elementary, middle school, high school. I wanted to be a figure skater, I wanted to be a dancer, and then a musician. So definitely keep your options open. If you want to put all of your time into one subject, one activity, go ahead and do it if what you really want. If it's what you really want, but make sure you're well-rounded and that you're putting emphasis and focus on a wide variety of things, because your ideas and what you want to do is definitely going to change over the years, even if at the time you don't think it will.
So I already know the answer to this question because I have a sister who's in middle school right now. So I'm always talking to her about her options. And as being a first generation college student, for me, that question was always on my mind. Like, what would I tell my younger self? And I think it's definitely that the world is not limitless. Like, you can literally do anything that you want. I think sometimes we forget that. And there's so many different options for you. And I definitely, like Kayla said, would explore all those different options, because like I said, I feel like in high school there was times where I limited myself and put myself in only these bubbles because I thought maybe I wouldn't be a great fit to be a teacher. But then I came to college, and like everyone says, like, college really is that time where you get to develop yourself and think about what you really want to do for the rest of your life. And when I came to IU, I was able to explore those things. And no matter where you end up going, you get to explore those things. So while you're in middle school, think about the things that interest you and think about your passions. And when you start going into high school, you can take classes usually that will interest you, or do research online and figure out what's really going to be the thing that's going to make you happy for the rest of your life.
All right, so yeah, thank you both for sharing those opinions and everything with everybody, and sharing your experiences. And so that is the end of my presentation. So I will send it back to Julia.
Thanks so much. Thank you all. That was a lot of really great information. And I think the presentation and the comments so far have done a really nice job of blending what we talked about last week with exploring career opportunities. There are a number of opportunities inside and outside the classroom to be taking advantage of, so that you can help identify what it is that you want to do. And then also kind of forecasting what we're going to be talking about next week with paying for college and scholarships and all those opportunities as well. For the rest of our time today, I really want to pose questions to our students on the call. So I think the best way to do that would be to quickly introduce our 21st Century Scholars students who've joined us, and then we'll start posing some questions for both groups of IU students who are joining us. So Dakota, I see that you're on the line. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Dakota Swamula. I'm originally from Elkhart, Indiana, and I just graduated from IU's Kelly School of Business with a double major in management and marketing, and I was a 21st Century Scholar.
Thanks so much. And just want to check, I don't think I see any other of our 21st Century Scholars on, but I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Do we have Olivia on the phone possibly? All right, no worries. So Dakota, can I pose to you the same question that Chanel had for Ruby and Kayla of why did you choose IU? Why IU?
Yeah, so I was a direct admit to the Kelly School of Business, and I knew that I wanted to do business from high school. I took every elective we had in business, and I was like, this is what I want to do, but I'm not exactly sure what area of business I want to go into. And so Kelly has a great opportunity to like really discover that, and they have a lot of different options. But I also knew that just the School of IU in general had a lot of options. And one thing that happened when I was doing my college search was that I was looking at schools with really great business programs, and one of them was like a solely business school. And my mom was like, I'm just afraid if you go here and you realize you don't want to do business or you want to do something else, you're not going to have as much variety or options. And so that kind of like helped me narrow down, like I wanted a bigger place with more variety and options. in the end, I stuck with business. That's really the only thing I wanted to do. But I knew that I had that option here at IU to do that, to do more and to try more things.
Excellent. One of the things that I heard from all three of you ladies is that you were direct admits into programs. So maybe if we go Ruby, Kayla, Dakota, and talk about what that process looked like for you, and like maybe explain just a little bit about what direct admit as opposed to a non-direct admit might be.
Yeah, so when you get IU is a little different when it comes to its admission process to other schools, whereas some schools in the state of Indiana and other places that you might be looking for, you'll be directed into the school itself. You either get admitted or you don't get admitted to the school, and you don't have the options. While at IU, when you apply, you pick the major that you believe that you'll be interested in, or if not, you could also be exploratory and have that option of not picking a specific major, and you'll be either directly admitted into a program where you usually have to have a certain GPA, SAT score. They'll probably also look at your essay as well. And once you're directly admitted into that program, you're in. Like, there's no taking you out of that program. Like, you're into the program, and it's you get to study that. But if you don't get directly admitted, you go where the majority of students actually statistically are. They're not directly admitted. They go with everybody else, and they just you work towards getting admitted to the school. So for me specifically, since I got directly admitted into Kelly, but then I switched out of my major and switched to the School of Education, I was with everybody else. I wasn't directly admitted into the School of Education. I actually had to take some classes and keep a certain GPA for me to get back into the School of Education, to be in a school. And you usually have until the end of your sophomore year to be admitted into that school of your choosing.
So my process, because I'm a music student, was a little bit different. So as a direct admit to the Jacobs School of Music, I came and did an audition my senior year of high school. There was also, I know there is one now, I think I filled one out when I was a senior, a supplemental application for the music school, which usually requires like a specific music teacher's recommendation. Sometimes you have to send in a pre-screening video. I personally did not. I just came in and did the audition. So I was accepted, and by being directly admitted to the music school, our classes are pretty laid out for us. So freshman through junior year, and it was kind of up to me by junior and senior year, there was a specific set of classes I needed to take in a specific order by certain times in order to reach the milestones we needed for the music school, including ensembles and lessons. So it's definitely very different from some of the other schools. But by being directly admitted, I was able to start taking 100, 200, 300 level music classes I needed to those first 2 semesters, along with all of the other music majors I just graduated with. And you end up being, for a lot of direct admit programs, especially something like the music school where it's a lot smaller, you do end up taking classes with the exact same people for all 4 years until junior and senior year, when you have a little more freedom with when and what you take, what class, in which classes you take. You're with the same people in all of your classes, so you really get to know them. But I do have friends who were not directly admitted to the music school, and for them, they just didn't get in with their first audition, but they got permission. So they came in as exploratory, but got permission from the music school to take some introductory level music classes, so they weren't getting too far behind in those classes by the time they tried again and were directly admitted for second half of freshman year, beginning or middle of sophomore year. So with a lot of those programs, the introductory level classes in most of the schools you are allowed to take, even if you're not a major. So if you are not directly admitted, but you still want to start on that path and not get far behind, so you don't have to take any extra classes, you absolutely can freshman year. And even if you're directly admitted to one school, you want to start taking classes towards a different major too, and you're not directly admitted, you can do that. And then when I added my second major in the College of Arts and Sciences, I went to that advisor, and because I already met the minimum GPA requirement, I was automatically admitted to the College of Arts and Sciences too, without having to do anything else. Some of the schools might be a little bit different. I believe Kelly has a different requirement if you are going to join after your initial acceptance to the school. There's GPAs classes you have to take. But at least for me, for the music school, I had to do an audition, and then for College of Arts and Sciences, I had the minimum GPA, so I was automatically admitted.
Yeah, I think they covered it, but like Kayla said, I'm pretty sure for Kelly, and it'll differ by every school, like I think you're picking up here, but if you're not directly admitted, you do have time to just like, they kind of want you to show that you have the rigor to perform at the level of college, and so basically you'll just perform in your classes the path that you want to do. I know like in basically the introductory classes, you don't know who's next to you as a direct admit or what we call a standard admit. So basically you're all in this together and you're all working towards the same goal of like completing the class the best that you can. And they just feel a little bit more pressure because they know they want to meet that that requirement to have, you know, the B minimum to be able to get that standard admit pass through.
Thank you all. So one of the things that I picked up on in some of our conversation earlier and wanted to kind of see each of your perspectives on was mentoring. We talked a little bit about this last week with career development and exploring and finding mentors. How have you gone about finding mentors in your degree programs and maybe even outside of the university? So how are you building your network and creating that support system? And just before I give an order here, if you do have questions, feel free to either unmute yourself and ask those, or you can put those into the chat and we'll get those answered. So maybe this time we'll start Kayla Dakota Ruby.
So again, with the music school, it is a little bit different. I basically was assigned a mentor for college the minute I got in because I have a private lesson professor. My journey was a little bit different because my private lesson professor did go on a sabbatical and then retired after my junior year. And then senior year, I had 2 different professors split year. They didn't hire anyone. So I've had a lot of them. And even though it would have been nice to have the same professor all 4 years, like a lot of people do, it was really nice that I was actually able to have multiple private professors in that time, and I can use all of them as resources for mentorship. They've all gladly said they'd write recommendations for me no matter what field I'm going into. It doesn't just have to be music, the one that they were my mentors for. Certain music degrees, you actually do get a different professor every year. I know specifically the composition department, and I think some of the singers as well, do change every year just so they get all those different people. But in terms of some of my other subjects and outside of school, I think just directly going to, if you see someone or talk to someone that you say, hey, I think I'd really get along and I'd like to use them as a resource, go talk to them, send them an email, go into office hours if they have them for your professors, and talk to them. I had one professor in one of my tourism classes that specifically aligned with my career goals. So I used him as a resource. I went to his office hours and he's definitely helped me a lot. And then by joining like the volunteer organization I was talking about earlier, La Escuela de Preparatory, the professor who is in charge of that program with IU has also become a mentor, and he's written me a lot of recommendations and given me a lot of help. So overall, the main thing with that is just reaching out. It's unlikely that someone is going to come to you to say, hey, I want to help you. If they do, because they see something in you that's really special and that's awesome. But most of the time, you're going to have to reach out. I'm also very close with one of my advisors, and she's been a big help. I've still been in contact with her even a couple of weeks after graduating, just letting her know what's going on, what my plans are. So if you take that opportunity to say, this is someone I'd get along with and I think they can help me a lot in the future, reach out to that person no matter who they are, and they're always going to be willing to help you.
Yeah, for me, it was a little bit different. So basically, I kind of just found mentors and people I work with often. So one mentor I have was a professor who I took his class and I became a TA for him. For the last 2 years, he's been a really great mentor, helped me grow a lot, and is always there to give me advice, whether it's about my classes, about my job search, about anything in general. He's just really great about that. And I just kind of got to know him because he has so many office hours, and we'd always go and like talk to him about the class. And then when I worked with him as a TA, we worked closely on the classes, and we would talk about just like where I wanted to go in life. And, you know, it's not always just business. It's not always just work. It's about me and what I want to do as well. And then I think I would also consider people like Marissa, who's the GA for the 21st Century Scholars Program, to be a mentor to me, because I work with her closely and I really am able to bounce ideas off of her. I was president of the Student Organization Leadership Corps for 21st Century Scholars last year, and she really helped advise me and give me direction to really help lead the group. And so I would consider her a mentor as well. Just anybody who I work closely with, and they really want to help me improve myself and better myself and people around me.
Yeah, same as everyone else. Like mentorship and is really something you do for yourself. It's a part of self-advocacy and reaching out to people that you believe are gonna, one, better you, but also two, you're gonna learn a lot from. And it's all becomes your choice. Like your advisors are assigned to you. Professors, depending on which field you're in, you get to pick. I'm very selective about what professors I take, especially since I have to take a lot of political science classes and history classes for my social studies major. So I specifically pick professors who I know will have an interest or are studying or researching whatever I think is going to be the best for my students in the future as an educator. But as well as what Dakota said, like the people you work with, depending on where you're working. Like, for example, I work at the Latino Cultural Center. So my boss is the director of the Latino Cultural Center, and she's literally become one of my heroes and one of those people I really admire and want to become when I grow up. And when you see that, that's when you start saying, like, I want to get more advice from you. I want to meet on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, and like, let's talk about how you can help me. As well as graduate students, as Dakota said, GAs, they are working in different capacities at the university. When I was a president at Forest, my sophomore year, I was working with a graduate student. She was studying higher education and student affairs, a field that I'm thinking about going into. So I would talk to her after we finished talking about my president duties. I talked to her about what classes she's taking, how did she get into graduate school, and things like that. And you'll continuously find that at IU, that people are just willing to help you, even if they're just a year above you. They're willing to mentor you through those things, especially if you guys are taking the same classes or they've taken classes before you. And just like reaching out to professors that you have, or will, and hoping that maybe they'll have another class you can take. So that's how I've found my mentors. It's just the people that I think that are going to really be in that field that I want to, or have the skills and opportunities that I want to have.
Those are all really excellent points. And it's all about relationship building, right? You get to know somebody, and as you said, Ruby, you get to see people who are doing the things that you're interested in doing, or seeing what they're involved in, and how they're interacting, and just kind of picking their brain, getting their ideas on how they got started, where they're at. And mentors come in all shapes and forms. As you've discussed, you've got faculty mentors, you also have staff mentors or near peer mentors with your upperclassmen who can help guide you. And that's what, as student ambassadors, that's what you all do, is to help middle and high school students as well, serving as mentors and providing your perspective. So thank you for that. We had a couple of questions in the chat. I think we answered maybe a little bit about this. I'm going to actually go backwards from the chat from my perspective here. One question was, do we have any mentoring or organizations for middle school students to participate in? I'm not familiar with any at Indiana University. Chanel, are you aware of any middle school mentoring programs?
No, yeah, I'm not sure of any middle school mentoring programs at IU. Yeah, I'm not sure what options are there for middle schoolers.
Not a problem. Yeah, so one thing that we, in community and school partnerships, we are developing some programming that will start to include that mentoring component. And so we'll definitely share those resources as they're available. But we'll do some research on our end to find out what maybe local opportunities through your library or through community organizations that might have those resources available. And then the question before that was, how do you get all these private professors and advisors? And I know you talked a little bit about how advisors are typically assigned to you based on your major. We talked last week about career advisors that you can go and get expertise from. But are there other ways that you have been connected to faculty or staff members who've supported your journey? And so maybe Ruby, Kayla, then Dakota.
I think like one way that I definitely have been connected to other people is just like people I know or people so for example, like even in high school, I talked to a teacher about like these things that I'm interested in, and I actively say like, do you know anybody in this field? Or because your educators are definitely those people who know people. Like oftentimes we think they're like in this bubble of just being your teacher, but no, they're the people that know other people. They might know lawyers, they might know businessmen, they might know dentists, doctors that could really help you. And even in college is the same thing. Like if you have a professor and they talk about, oh, I have this friend in this field, they're doing this research or doing this work, then after class tell them like, hey, who's that person? Like I really would love to be connected to them. As it's just like a lot of it is doing just networking yourself, like I know a lot of people do like LinkedIn's, which is a way to really be professional and connecting with people and emailing them. I know I had some friends who would want to do research, and they would actively like email professors, even though they would get denied, or they'd be like, I'm not looking for anybody, or I don't have really the time for this. They would just reach out until there was one person who would really be there to mentor them and help them through any process. So just like reaching out to people that you know around you that might help you. They might not be the person to mentor you, but they might know someone, or someone else might know someone, you know, and it's just that like network of people who will help you grow.
Just to clarify a little bit, just to make sure and no one was confused there, if you did come in late, I'm a trumpet performance major. So when I was talking about private professors, things like that, as music majors, we get assigned or we ask to be in a studio for someone of a specific private instrument or voice or composition professor, who then is assigned for you most of the time for the duration of your time at school. So we're a bit different than all the other schools in that we do have someone specific assigned to us. So we have that as a resource. So just to clarify there, in terms of private professors, that is mainly just a music school thing. But definitely what Ruby says, networking is super important, especially with my minor in tourism, hospitality, and event management. In all of my classes, especially the introductory ones, we would have different professionals in those fields of hospitality and tourism and event management come into our classes, and they would always have business cards, or they'd say, talk to your professor and they can put you in contact with me. And that's how a lot of people in my classes have gotten jobs and how they've gotten internships. So if you want to not take that advice and do that networking, you can probably eventually find your own jobs and internships in the future. It's just going to take a lot more work, and you might start down at a more entry-level position rather than an intern, and it'll be harder to work your way up. So if you do start with those networking connections, it's really easy. I know like there's a wedding planner in the area. She has come and now talked to multiple of my classes, and she always hands out a business card, and everyone who asks her generally ends up with an internship or a job in the future. There's really good connections. So in a lot of the classes, or especially introductory ones or ones meant for seniors, depending on what end it is, they're going to have someone in those fields coming in and talking to you. And then also just your professors. Your professors are always doing research, like the Spanish department. Most of them, my focus was on Hispanic linguistics, so they focus on research. So with that, all of my professors were always doing research. And sometimes if you do a project and your professor says, wow, this is a really interesting project, they'll work with you and they can grow your project into a research activity that can give you a job or grad school or PhD programs, things like that. So networking is definitely the most important thing with your professors and then with professionals that either you go out and find or are brought into you in your classes.
Yeah, so like Kayla said, there's a lot of programs, especially at IU, where they'll bring in people and to talk to you and to help you build your network. But there's also a lot of programs meant specifically to help you find mentors. So I know like with the Office of the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, Multicultural Affairs, we call it OVP-DEMA, they have a phase mentoring program. So that's a student group, they get qualified and trained and they help mentor students. And then we also have like different programs and stuff put on by the office. So like there's a partnership with Women in Indie, I think, and you can sign up and get assigned to a mentor there, and you meet with them once a month, something like that. So there's all these different types of opportunities and programs that like the school puts together and like sponsors, and just for you to help you improve yourself and find these advisors and mentors. And one of the biggest pieces of advice that I have is like to always check your email, because there's so many opportunities always coming in your email through newsletters and announcements, and you want to read everything and so you don't miss anything at all.
Thank you, ladies. Wanted to say that there are some pre-college programs, some offered through community and school partnerships and some through other partners on campus. One program that we have is called the Spring Shadow Program, and that typically takes place in April. It's an overnight program that is designed for high school students to come to campus, get paired with a current IU student, and attend classes, take part in extracurricular opportunities. And I say all this to say that getting experience on a campus before you make your decision of where you want to attend is really important. Being able to see yourself on that campus and in that school and find the right fit for you for college is really important. So there are opportunities through that program, but also just other summer camps that we typically have that will be starting back up when that is appropriate. But we also host campus visits. So getting opportunities to really, live the life of a college student for a day are really important. So to that end, if I could ask our panelists to talk about their first experiences on a college campus and what helped you make your decision. I know we talked a little bit about why IU, but how did you decide what was a good fit for you coming to IU? So we'll start Kayla, Dakota, and then Ruby.
So like I said, being a music major, things are different. I'm pretty far from the Midwest. I'm originally from Massachusetts, and with doing all of those auditions, it just wasn't possible for me to visit any of my college campuses before doing my auditions. That was a lot of time to take off of school. I did have some experience on college campuses before that, though. I had always gone to summer music or dance intensives, which are generally held on college campuses. So I did know what it was like to live in dorms, to eat in dining halls, to be on campuses like that. I had been on a wide variety of types in New York, in Pennsylvania, all over the place. I had been to a lot. And I have siblings who are significantly older than me. By the time I was doing my college search, they were a couple of years graduated from college. So I was used to that. But again, like I said, with being a music major, I was looking more towards like what professors I liked and like private lesson professors, and if I got along with them and their personalities more than the actual campus. Because if I loved the campus but couldn't get along with the person that was teaching me for 4 years, it wasn't going to work out very well. But again, I went to all the smaller schools and I did take lessons from those professors, and some I got liked, some I didn't. That's the way it goes. And then I came to IU and I fell in love with the campus and all of the programs in general. And then I took lessons with the professor and I got along with him really well too. So taking all of that into consideration, saying I really like the big campus in terms of opportunities, that it's a really beautiful place, that Bloomington as a city has a lot to offer too, and especially that I got along with my individual professor who I was going to be seeing every week for 4 years was really important to me. So definitely taking all of that into consideration and saying how you personally feel on that campus, but then it's going to be different. Most people don't have an individual professor like that, but if you can meet with advisors or even current students and just kind of get a feel for what they're like and if you can get along with them is just as important for how you feel for the actual campus too.
So my experience was a little different. My senior year of high school, I was considering a couple different schools in Indiana because of the 21st Century Scholars Program. And my friend from high school, her brother actually came to IU and he was in the Kelly School. And so me, her, and another friend, we all drove down for our fall break weekend. And we just came and he gave me a tour and we all like walked around. He like gave me like a personal tour of like, okay, this is the business area. This is our library we go to. Like, this is my favorite place to hang out. Like all these different kinds of things, which was really awesome. And then I was still on the fence. I still had like, I don't really know if I want to go like to IU or Purdue. And so I came back for a direct admit day for the Kelly School. And so if you're a direct admit, your schools will have like special days where you come and you meet professors and you get like a special tour of like the building where your classes are, and you basically get like a more involvement with that specific program. And my second time being here, I had already been to Purdue and I knew what their campus was like. And I came back and I was like, this is really like the place. I like it better. The campus is nicer. The programs are more extensive. They're going to offer me more opportunities here. And so that really was kind of like the defining factor of what I liked. And so based on that, that's why I chose IU.
All right. Yeah. So just like they said, it's definitely, I would recommend if you're looking at school, like going to that, if at all possible, going physically to that school. I know with everything going on, it might not be possible, but I know a lot of them are doing, a lot of schools, especially IU, are doing virtual tours. So like looking at it and also talking to current students and current faculty. I know, especially at IU, I've had people, when I'm as a tour guide, be like, can I talk to someone somewhere about this specific school, talk to a professor, talk to advisors, and that possibility is at IU. I'll usually connect them to someone that knows how to connect to them. But yeah, there is definitely, I know friends who at IU who were like, yeah, when I came to visit IU, I went to go talk to this professor, or I went to talk to this advisor, and they definitely talked me through. And that was the same for me. I talked to people who I knew were at IU. Once I had visited, I knew I was interested. Also, just like knowing that as a low income student, that they had scholarship opportunities. So I would look at the website, looking at opportunities for me. So seeing like what's your right fit, because as much as I love IU, I know other people who would never do good at a big school, who don't love this the type of school IU is, not because of its programs or the people, but just because of how big it is. So like seeing what you want in a university or college, like seeing do I want to go to a big school? How far away do I want to be from home? How much is tuition? Like looking at all these different variables will really determine what is a right fit for me. And for me, I had ended up realizing that I wanted a school that had these opportunities that would make me successful, had different varieties of programs, no matter if I stayed in business or I ended up switching my major, had a lot of great sports and things like that. So once I realized like these are all the things that I want to click and check mark off my boxes, and I realized IU had those things, then I was like, all right, then I'm gonna pick IU.
Yeah, those are all really, really excellent points and important things to be considering when you're making that decision, because it's where you're going to be for the next 4 years. And so you want to make sure that those, all of those, like you said, all those boxes are checked as much as possible. And knowing that there are options, to transfer if you do find yourself at a school that you're, is not the right fit. You're not committed to have to stay there. There are transfer options. Also want to point out that Indiana University has 8 campuses across the state. So, if staying closer to home, if being a part of a smaller university where you've got more access to faculty, even though Bloomington and IUPUI, even though they're large schools, they do an excellent job of faculty being available to students. But these are all things to just be thinking about as you're kind of weighing your options. So I know Jim put a question in the chat for Chanel that I'll ask, and I'll also ask maybe if you could add a little bit about like Explore IU and Red Carpet Days and those opportunities for prospective students. And then Jim's question was, could you touch on how students can strengthen their college application when the time comes? At IU, prospective students are seen as more than a GPA or test score. So what are some of the things young students can do to become more attractive candidate for IU's holistic admissions review?
Yeah, so like Jim mentioned, we do have a holistic admissions process. We look at everything that is submitted within your application. We read every essay. You can, with your transcripts, your test score, you can also include a recommendation letter from one guidance counselor and one teacher. And so they can submit that information, tell us a little bit more about yourself. And you can also include any extracurricular activities that you've done or work experience that you've had, and kind of help develop a better picture of you so that we know what opportunities you've accomplished and everything as well. And like I said, that essay is really your voice within your application. We read every essay, and it really just allows us to have a better picture of who you are and those accomplishments that you've had and where you see yourself at IU. And you can even, like, I've met students who have had internships in high school, so it's not something that you have to wait until your college experience to really start gaining those internship opportunities and those experiences. I met a student who had an internship with NASA while she was in high school. And so, I mean, there's a lot of options for you to really help develop yourself and help prepare yourself and show your strengths within that application process as well. So yeah, like I said, we look at everything and really try to get a good picture of who you are and your accomplishments and how successful you're going to be at IU.
Thank you for that. Sorry.
Sorry. Sorry, I just forgot you had asked about the Discover IU and Red Carpet Days. So we do have our events on campus where you can come check it out for yourself, see it for yourself. Right now, our Discover IU Days are online, virtual. And so you have that option to take advantage of that right now if you'd like to. But normally we do have that on campus where Kayla or Ruby would be giving you a tour of campus, showing you around, telling them more about their experiences on campus. And hearing from an admissions counselor such as myself, telling a little bit more in depth about the admissions process and what to expect. And you can even schedule a time to meet with an admissions counselor one-on-one as well before or after the session. And then we have our Red Carpet Days, which are for admitted students only. So once you've received your letter of admit, and we want to celebrate that with you on campus, show you a little bit more of campus. And we literally roll out the red carpet for you. There's a red carpet that you walk down and take a photo with your parents or anybody who comes with you. And just hear a little bit more in depth from like faculty and staff and advisors from housing, and explore campus on your own as well, and be able to go to different areas on campus and hear from the different schools and departments as well. And so those are offered usually around the spring, sometime in starting around February throughout the springtime for our admitted students. So definitely taking advantage of that as well. It's just kind of to make sure that IU is going to be a good fit for you and where you're going to be most successful within your college career.
That's great. And Lisa just put in a link for the virtual tours of campus in the chat. So if you wanted to take advantage of that after our call today, I highly encourage you to do so. To pose a related question about admissions to our student panel here, we're going to do what we do every week and ask you to think back to when you were middle school, early high school student, and you were starting to think about the application and admissions process. What were things that were maybe of concern to you, or how did you approach applying for college? And we'll start with Dakota, go to Ruby, and then Kayla.
So being a 21st century scholar, I knew in middle school that I qualified for the scholarship. And so in my mind, it was like, okay, college in Indiana, public. Really, I don't think in middle school I started to think about where I wanted to go to college. My brother was a year older than me, so I was like, okay, when he goes through this process, like a year ahead of me, like I'll learn and I'll figure things out. And it actually turned out he didn't apply to college. And so when I went through it, it was kind of like a new experience. We were discovering everything for the first time. But I think in middle school, one thing that you can do to prepare and start thinking about like colleges and where you want to go is start identifying like your interests and your opportunities and finding out, you know, what place does that kind of thing. And so for me in high school, I didn't even think about like where I wanted to apply to college until I was a junior. And, you know, here I am a freshman in a business class that everybody takes. And my teacher at parent-teacher conferences was like, hey, she has good business acumen. Like, you should think about IU's Kelley School of Business. This is the first time I ever heard about it, and I had no idea what he was talking about. And so I think all of you being here and starting your process early and just thinking about your interests and what you want to do and having that mindset of, okay, I'm already thinking about college now and I have the next 4 years to continue thinking about it is already a great step.
Yeah, just following with Dakota. I was also I'm a first generation college student, so it was a whole new process for me. So I definitely ever since I was a kid, my mom always told me that the one thing I always said the first thing I learned about, I knew something about college, I was like, that's something I want to do. So like being very like your own advocate and asking people for help. And recognizing that you can't do this all by yourself, especially if you have never had anyone in your family go to college. Asking your teachers and your counselors, like, how can I go do this, especially if you don't think you might have the right GPA requirements or a good SAT or ACT score. Like, what can I do to look better on this college application? So a lot of it was joining clubs and organizations that looked good on your college application. So, I mean, and especially things that will increase your interest. Don't just like join any club to join any club, like things that will help you excel in the field that you might want to go into. So like in my high school, we had like a robotics team. So if you're interested in engineering to do that, at one point I wanted to be a lawyer. So I was on the speech and debate team for 3 years in high school. So like, and those skills, like, although I'm not going to be a lawyer anymore, like those skills are still applicable to my life. Like I learned how to write better, papers better. I learned how to be a better public speaker. I learned how to be more confident through that. I also did sports in high school because that was just something I liked to do. So like doing things you're interested in. Another thing I definitely recommend to anyone applying to school or thinking about applying to school is like building those relationships with your high school teachers. So when it comes time to have a recommendation letter, like you have someone that, you know, right, not having to scramble to think who, like, you know, this person, and not always picking your favorite teacher, but picking the person that knows what struggles you have gone through and also have seen you in a classroom, have seen that you have grown from this like small freshman to now this grown senior. Like you want to have those people who will definitely talk to you and also write you really good recommendation letters. And looking for those internships. When I was still interested in business, I worked at Eli Lilly and Company, which is a big business in Indianapolis. And it was great to get that business experiences and working under one of the CFOs, just being able to talk to those people and see how I could possibly be in those things. And those opportunities are everywhere. So like reaching out to people and figuring out how you can get that internship or that research opportunity if you're looking for one.
I think something that's pretty important that I had learned through high school is that you want to challenge yourself and push yourself in high school to make sure you're working hard and learning and growing, but you don't need to feel the pressure of taking a class that's too hard for you because it has an honors or an AP label on it, or because you think it's going to look good to a college. I had someone at admissions, a student at a presentation, come up to me a couple months ago and say, should I get a B in an honors class or an A in a regular class? And what does that look? And my response to that was, if you are going to work really, really hard in the honors class to get the B, and getting the A in the regular class is going to be a breeze and you're not going to have to do any work, take the honors class and write that in an essay about how hard you worked. But if you're going to have to work decently hard to get the A in the regular class, work hard to get the A in the regular class and don't struggle in the honors or AP class just because it has the label on it. So that's really important. And you want to think about what's going to look good for colleges, but also what you enjoy and what's good for yourself. Like Ruby was saying, join a lot of things that interest you, but don't join 15 clubs because you think it's going to look good on your resume to join those 15 clubs and have 10 AP classes. You'd rather join 3 clubs and have 1 job and you're a president of 1 club and incredibly involved in the others and really love your job, rather than be a tiny bit involved in all of the other ones and don't really have anything to show for it. So I think that's really important, that being well-rounded and having a lot of different things, but also kind of knowing your limits, knowing what your interests are, and putting the effort into what's important. In the long run, the AP class you took sophomore, junior year, senior year of high school, it'll matter in terms of getting you credits for college, but you're not really going to think about it after that. I don't really think about most of the classes I took in high school, except for the ones that had such a big impact on me that I decided to go and major in them. My AP Spanish class resulted in me having a major in Spanish, but I took AP English and all that did was not have me take English in college. And beyond that, I don't like English that much. So definitely focus your time on what's important and try in all the other ones, but don't put too much pressure on yourself to do absolutely everything and be the best at it.
That's really important, and thank you for that, Kayla. We don't want you to be working so hard that you're missing out on the things that you really enjoy. So it's all about marrying what you enjoy with the path that you want to take after, through and after high school. So maybe we could ask, we've got maybe time for a couple more questions. And I want to ask, what are you doing beyond the classroom to find time to fill your interests and hobbies? What does campus life look like you outside of your academics? And so we'll start with Ruby, Kayla, and then Dakota.
As I mentioned earlier, like definitely getting involved in clubs. There's so many things that you can be involved with in IU. Like there's like, it's just so hard to put into words, like the endless things that you can do, whether they're related to your major, they're related to other things that you love to do, like watching The Office or anything really. Whether it also be like volunteering in the Bloomington community. Like the one thing like sometimes we forget to talk about is the community itself that surrounds Bloomington's campus, and it's just so amazing. I've also been, like Kayla, been able to volunteer in Bloomington, and working with El Centro, which is a partnership with IU, and just working with Spanish-speaking students and helping them with their homework after school. As well as I remember taking a class and having to do service learning. So service learning is where you, in partnership, are learning in the classroom, but also are taking those skills outside of the classroom. So I would go once a week to this school in Bloomington and work with these like kindergarten to 3rd graders and working with them and trying to, even though they weren't high school students, which is my specialty, I still getting to work with students and still having that opportunity outside of the classroom, as well as just like finding activities that you like to do with your friends. Like, for example, biking is a really big thing in Bloomington, and I love to bike. So I go bike with my friends. We figure out how to do things together, and there's a bunch of ways to exercise in Bloomington, whether it be at the gym or outside. There's like an endless amount of things you can do with your time, but making sure you're like prioritizing what's going to make you happy. Like for sure, I always put like academics, then work, but then like I have time to do other things. Like I think some people forget like college is way different than high school. Like I felt like I would wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning in high school and then wouldn't come home until 9 p.m. and like I'd be like, where did the day go? But in college, like you can wake up at whatever time you want and you can do whatever you want, and definitely filling that time with things that you love to do, whether it is going out to eat or hanging out with your friends or joining clubs and organizations. Like you want to do all these different things, because when you do all those different things, it looks good when you end up going into the work field, or if you're applying for grad school or medical school, all those different things. But I definitely do a lot. My friends like to call me Miss IU because I try to put my hand in everything that I can possibly do, so I can just be that person that I know a little bit about everything so I can help others.
I think definitely joining those different activities freshman year, even if you can sign up and be on the list for 15 different club emails, go to one meeting and never go again, but you still might meet your best friend in that first meeting, even if you never join that. I personally, something else I was involved with is being an usher at the IU auditorium, where we have touring Broadway shows and plays. And so as an usher, you volunteer your time to hold open doors for guests, show them to their seats, and in return, you see those shows for free. And the very first day I did that, I was outside holding open a door. We went around in circles just to meet each other and say what our majors are. And a girl came up to me and said, "Do you want to be my partner?" And I said, yes. And now we've lived together for 2 years because she's one of my best friends. So it's one of those, you never know where you're going to meet someone. And don't be afraid to go and do things alone either, especially freshman year, but even senior year. I've gone to random events alone and it's fun. No one's going to judge you. There's other people there alone. It's really fun. I know we have a big group of music majors who are in my year. And freshman or sophomore year, I wrote in the group saying, there was a puppy petting event, and does anyone want to come with me? And someone I had never even heard her name before was like, yeah, I'll come. And now she's one of my really good friends because we went and put puppies together on a random day freshman year. So don't be afraid to just reach out to anyone. No one's going to be mean to you. Everyone just wants to kind of find their people. And if you talk to someone once and never talk to them again, it's fine. I've definitely done that. So definitely reaching out to people that way. Don't be afraid to do something alone. And I've also kind of found my place a lot in my workplaces too. So sophomore year, I ended up working the center desk of the residence hall I lived at, and I worked that job through senior year, and I met some of my best friends through that job too. My boss has been a major reference for me. She's helped me with a lot, and it's been a really happy place to work. It's great to make money, but it's also just a really great environment. And then I started working at the Office of Admissions last year over the summer. I started working when it was a paid position, but if I would have had the time that was needed, I definitely would have loved to start it earlier, because your jobs are also a big source of your community, the people you spend time with, and definitely have a big impact. Admissions has definitely had a big impact on me in the past year. So definitely there's a lot of ways to get involved and meet other people and find your community through academics, through clubs, outside of clubs, anything like that.
Yeah, so my freshman year, I came to IU and I didn't really want to get involved a lot because in high school I was in color guard, and IU doesn't have a color guard team. They have the Red Steppers, and I didn't really want to be just a dancer because I love the sport so much. So I auditioned for an independent group based in Indy, and I was accepted, but because of the time commitments, I decided to decline it just because I was so worried about being a freshman and balancing everything and juggling everything. And it was a big time commitment. Almost every weekend had to be gone for training. And so I was only involved in a few things my first year, but my second year, I found the volunteer corps, which now became the 21st Century Scholars Leadership Corps. I became really involved with that. Our goal was just to give back to the community and volunteer around campus and in Bloomington. And when I became involved, I became my junior year the volunteer coordinator. So I would help plan those volunteer events, which was really great. And then last year, I was the president of the organization, so I helped us grow and add these two different branches to help with your personal and professional development, and as well as your building a social community for scholars here. And then, like the other girls, I liked what Kayla said a lot about you can join so many different things and only go to one. That's my biggest piece of advice too to freshmen is just try everything you can, and you don't have to stick with it if it's not for you. But sometimes it's harder to get involved in the middle of the year if you don't just go in the first time. So get on those email lists right away. So yeah.
All right, thank you ladies so much. I want to say, I'm always continually impressed by the level of involvement that our students have, the amazing things that they've accomplished already. I know when I was going into college and I was first generation myself, I was not where you all are already. So you should all be proud of your accomplishments thus far, and look forward to seeing all the amazing things that you're going to do. So wanted to thank everybody for their time this morning. Thank you, Chanel, for joining us and hosting the first part of our conversation and answering questions that we have. If anybody on the call today has more questions that we didn't get to, please feel free to reach out to us afterwards. What we're hoping you're taking away is that IU has a network of students and professionals who are here to support you every step of the way. So if there's anything that you can think of that we can support you with, please contact us and we will make those connections. So next week, we will be talking about navigating Scholar Track and paying for college. So please feel free to join us and encourage others to RSVP if they've not done so. And we'll see you next week. Thank you, everybody.